iPhone 15 Pro Max versus Galaxy S24 Ultra, and these videos are ones that I feel like typically bring out the worst in people. A lot of slandering, sometimes slur calling and slinging, and overall just bad vibes. But I actually have to say that over my last several Galaxy and iPhone videos, the community that we've built here has actually been relatively tame. That's one of the things that I love a lot about the community that we've built here, so kudos to you guys. If you are watching this though, it's either because A, you already have one of these, you want to validate a purchase that you made so many months later, or you're actually in the market for a phone and you're wondering if one of these two is going to be better suited for you. So I've used both of these extensively over several months since their release and have a pretty well-rounded perspective, I think, about which one's going to be better suited for you and complement your lifestyle the best depending on what you need it for. So if you guys are new here, my name is Dave, I do tech reviews, and finish him. So I'm going to address this now in the very beginning of the video because I get this question in every single video with the iPhone versus any Galaxy device. And yes, AirDrop on the iPhone and the iPad and the MacBook are exceptional. And also, yes, you have the same option over here that works just as quickly and just as consistently on Android devices, but here, namely, Galaxy devices. Here I have a 4K 60 FPS video. Basically, me and my buddies got into the Dragon Ball card game, so here's a poll. I'm going to send this over to the Galaxy S24 Ultra. Boom, it is done, nice and quick. And then I'm going to open this one. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to click, send it over to my Galaxy Tab S9 Ultra. And boom, it's done. And then I can open it over here. So as you can see, AirDrop on the iPhone and that entire ecosystem is really good. But you do have that share option between Galaxy devices and it works just as quickly and just as effectively. Now, of course, there are a few angles to actually look at this from. And I think for me, one of the biggest things is always being transparent with you guys about where I stand on things. And I can definitely say using both of these, for me personally, on a day-to-day basis, the Galaxy S24 Ultra is the one that I would personally pick up, but that doesn't mean that the iPhone 15 Pro Max is suddenly just like a terrible device and it's not going to be good for absolutely anything, no matter what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. There's a lot to love here. I'm gonna cover all of those things as well. I can say, battery life-wise, both phones are good battery devices. On average, by day's end, both phones usually get me there, but the 24 Ultra seems to get me there with a few more battery percentage, sometimes between like 7 to 10% more depending on what I'm doing that day. And I have seen other reviewers saying that the S24 Ultra battery life has dipped a bit. The iPhone 15 Pro Max battery life is like really bad. That honestly has not been my experience at all. You're just getting a bit more juice out of the Ultra than the iPhone 15 Pro Max, but for the most part, they're both going to get you there. I think both look really, really good. In terms of which I think looks closer to my personal skin tone, I would say that I think the Galaxy is nailing it more. The iPhone is a bit muted in terms of my skin tone. But I think as a whole, quality-wise, they both look really good. Something I can say is that if you're looking for zoom, the Galaxy is absolutely the way to go. Video quality-wise, you're looking at K30 over here on the Galaxy S24 Ultra, which looks superb. And video on the iPhone just always looks excellent. I think although you're getting superior zoom on the S24 Ultra, and I feel like on a day-to-day basis, camera and video are mostly comparable, the log format video files on the iPhone 15 Pro Max are remarkable. They really just truly look amazing no matter what it is that you're filming. Shooting in log on the iPhone legitimately looks like a DSLR camera in terms of like the color depth and the picture that you're getting. It really is an amazing feat to have that on a phone. And I would say that as a whole, no matter which one you're picking up, both are pretty great here. All right, so a couple of things here is that A, both screens get super duper bright. I'll have the numbers around here somewhere for you guys. But in general, everyday usage, whether you are on, say, social media, watching a video, texting somebody, you won't have a problem seeing on either of these screens in outdoor situations. There are two caveats to this though. The first being is that the anti-glare coating that you're getting here on the S24 Ultra on a day-to-day basis, for me personally, I do notice makes a bit of a difference in terms of the screen not being as shiny when I am in outdoor situations like this, where you can see the sky is completely blown out because of how bright it is. And if you guys are enjoying the video so far, I have a goal for the end of this year to hit 50,000 subscribers to work towards being a full-time content creator. Guys, I love doing this YouTube thing. I love making content for you guys. And so if you're enjoying, the best way to support is hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button. Thank you so much for hanging out with me here on the channel and allowing me to do this thing. I really love it and I can't thank you guys enough. you've been here before, I'm a huge gamer. I love playing games on my phone. On both of these phones, you're getting maximum graphics and texture settings and frame rates on absolutely everything. The one caveat though is that on the iPhone 15 Pro Max, you can hit 120 frames per second on more games like Genshin Impact, which is a huge resource draining game for these phones. This can go 120 frames per second. You're only getting 60 FPS over here on the Galaxy S24 Ultra. That being said, I personally think that the 120 is overkill on the 15 Pro Max. And this phone still gets warmer nowadays than my S24 Ultra, and so for me, I usually just run things at 60 frames per second anyway, and even at 60 on both, this one gets just a little bit hotter in those sessions, I would say, than the 24 Ultra. That being said, gaming is awesome. That being said, even though typically I'm more of an Android guy, I can't lie that iOS 18 is probably one of the most impressive software updates that I've personally experienced from Apple in a long time. The Genmojis are awesome. Having RCS chats now with other people that have Android devices is absolutely a huge plus. Even though it's not completely iMessage, of course, Apple has to keep some of their features for their ecosystem, understandably. I have to be objective for you guys that the Apple intelligence that they showcase that unfortunately we don't have access to right now looks incredibly impressive, and on a day-to-day basis in terms of complementing one's lifestyle, being integrated in almost every facet of the iPhone software and user interface on a day-to-day basis seems remarkable. And although Samsung AI as of today is fantastic with the live translation in phone calls, the circle to search, having summaries on web pages, and also in voice dictation, right, if I'm taking notes for like a client that I'm working with, summarizes all of the main points for me in like contextually aware ways, that's really impressive. Generating those live wallpapers, the photo editing and things like that, those are all amazing and definitely helpful in their particular ways. If you're asking me right now, for the future, looks like it's going to be more helpful on a day-to-day basis. But obviously we don't have that today, so if you're looking for a phone today with AI features that's going to be helpful, the Galaxy has them in spades, definitely over the iPhone. And the second thing being that both of these phones have auto-dimming, auto-brightening when you are in outdoor situations so that the screen will adjust to the amount of light that it's detecting through the sensor. Not all of the time, but more often than on the S24 Ultra, I noticed that the iPhone 15 Pro Max will sometimes dim instead of brighten when I do walk into outdoor situations. And I think it's because, especially here it's summertime, a lot of days we're looking at 79 through around upper 80s, and so the phones are getting warmer. And I think that's a way for the iPhone 15 Pro Max to compensate and not increase its internal temperature. That's not something that I've had a problem with, I would say, pretty much at all over here on this 24 Ultra. And I don't think that's a deal breaker for the iPhone 15 Pro Max, but you know, in terms of like practical, everyday things, functional things, that's something that I want to let you guys know about. The phone has sort of learned my habits, and so when I get back in the car, as soon as I get in, I get a notification on my watch and the phone with the directions, the time estimate, and any traffic data that I need to know on the way home. It's kind of learned that I go home around that time and I get that information. You do get that information on Galaxy devices as well, but it's not as specifically contextual as like as soon as I get in my car, it'll kind of estimate the time that I'm about to go home. This is a little different, and that's one of those software things that I love to see in phones because these are life companions, and seeing that intermingling of tech and lifestyle, I love that. So definitely points there. Okay. Now, a huge plus over these last several months of using the iPhone 15 Pro Max is the USB-C port. Seems like a small thing, but me having several devices like my Pixel devices, Galaxy devices, my MacBook Pro, and my iPad Pro, go figure. Thank you, UK. Having USB-C, having that accessibility here on the iPhone 15 Pro Max is a huge plus as well in terms of charging. And if you're looking for other accessible ways to charge, ESR has a bunch of MagSafe compatible charging accessories that can charge not only your iPhone, but also can charge your AirPods and your Apple Watches all at the same time. This first one is their ESR Qi 2 3-in-1 travel wireless charging set. Has a nice size base for your AirPods, and it also brings this USB-C watch charger, which is nice because you can plug it into the back of the stand for charging that way. But say you just want to charge your watch and say you're working on your MacBook or something, you can actually just plug this into the USB-C port. And now you have an Apple Watch charger that you don't have to have connected to the stand if you don't want to. You have their Qi 2 3-in-1 travel wireless charging set, which is also MagSafe compatible as well. And this is actually a really nice slim profile that, despite its slim frame, also allows you to charge your AirPods and your watch at the same time as your phone. And also comes in this carrying case that's similar to the size of like a sunglasses carrying case. So very easy to slip into your purse or a book bag or even like one of those sling bags. And it has slots for the charger that it comes with and the USB-C cable that it comes with too. And they have their Qi 2 mini wireless charger, which is 1,200 grams of holding power. So as you can see, I mean, I'm I'm shaking that thing and it is not coming off. It's actually almost scary how strong this hold is, but you can rest assured that while you're at your desk or sitting down or something, it's gonna stay fastened to the back of your phone. You don't have to worry about it falling off. So if you guys are looking for additional accessibility and flexibility in terms of charging your iPhone 15 Pro Max, I'll have links in the description down below for you guys so you can test one out for yourself. So I just got done with one of my families for the day and I actually had to drive around the block just because I didn't want to like set this up and record in front of their house. Like, I'm weird, but I don't want them to think like I'm that weird. But this particular family, there's a lot of different things going on. And usually for these kinds of sessions, I like to jot down notes. That way I have in mind the important things to record for like the treatment plan and the clinical notes that I have to put into our system later. And having an S Pen on hand is really fantastic for being able to do that and jot down some notes so that way when I'm done my sessions later on in the day, that information isn't sort of like overwritten and forgotten. I'm not a robot, I do forget things. And so this is an awesome way to do that. Check how cool this is out, right? So like my handwriting's pretty slanted. I can just click this little button over here, align my handwriting. And when you look at that, it is more neatly organized than when I initially wrote it. And I'm gonna keep it real with you guys that Samsung DeX is something that I use basically never. I've used it a handful of times, really just for review purposes for you guys, because my MacBook Pro is what I use on a day-to-day basis for most of like my clinical work as a therapist, all of my editing for you guys here on the channel, entering emails with clientele. And when I need it to be bigger, I just hook it up to my monitor. And so my MacBook Pro sort of scratches that itch for me personally. But the times that I've used Samsung DeX, be here on the 24 Ultra, the 23, the 22, on my Samsung Galaxy tab, it works amazingly and impressively flawlessly on every single one of those. And say you're on a budget and only have money to spend on a phone and don't have money for a laptop, being able to hook this up to an external monitor and basically have a pretty fledged out desktop experience in the palm of your hand as well that also is your phone. It's something that I really can't understand. Again, I don't even use Samsung DeX. I think one of the big important things, at least for me personally in my day-to-day life, that may not be for you necessarily, is the multitasking, right? Obviously, if you watch my Galaxy Tab S9 Ultra review video versus like the iPad Pro, iPhones for a long time have been more than capable of actually handling multitasking capabilities, but it's just not there for you guys as a user. And the closest thing you get is having like a YouTube bubble popped up on your screen and being able to be inside like a social media application or texting somebody. On this 24 Ultra, for example, being able to look at like say wedding venues in one window and jot down notes in a separate window, or be able to draw notes on the wedding venue picture that I'm looking at with the S Pen. Those are features for me that are complementary on a day-to-day basis. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, I don't need multitasking. That's not something that's a necessity on a phone. You just need to text and call and maybe do social media things. But if you ask me, I think for the amount of money that you're paying for phones like this, having the option is something that would only be beneficial for the user, right? You might not use multitasking 95% of the time on your phone, but that 5% of the time when it actually would be useful to have, it would be nice to actually be able to do it. And at least for me, when I do these videos for you guys, I don't like to break down just a spec sheet. You guys can look that up on a website. For me, I try and consider what are like the real world practical things you guys are going to use your phones for on a day-to-day basis. For some people, that's going to be texting, phone calls, and X or Facebook or Instagram. And for other people, it's going to be a bridging between their leisure time and perhaps some productivity things or their work time. So I try and take all of those things into consideration as well. That being said, I'm one person. I'm definitely gonna miss some things. So if there's something else that you are wondering about, let me know in the comment section down below. I'll get to as many of you guys as I possibly can to answer your questions, because the reason I started this thing was so I can help people the way that I remember being helped watching other tech reviewers whenever I was looking into a phone or a computer or a laptop or that kind of thing. But hopefully this video was helpful for you guys. Thank you guys so much again for stopping by and hanging out. I wish you a fantastic remainder of your day, afternoon, or night, depending on the time it is you are watching this. And as always, peace, love, and adios. Bye guys, and have a great day.